God's love is a love that defies human understanding. It doesn't depend on how many times we succeed, how perfect we strive to be, or how often we fall short. In a world where love often feels earned based on achievements, appearances, or how well we meet expectations, God's love stands apart. It is unshakable, unchanging, and unaffected by our imperfections. This love doesn't waver when we make mistakes or falter under pressure. It doesn't disappear when we feel unworthy or when the world seems to turn its back on us. Grace is one of the most profound expressions of God's love. It's the realization that we don't have to carry the weight of guilt, shame, or our past mistakes. Grace meets us exactly where we are, even in our brokenness, and offers us a way forward. It's not about what we've done to deserve it, because grace isn't something you can earn. It's a gift, freely given with no strings attached. So often we hold ourselves hostage to our failures, replaying our regrets over and over in our minds, thinking we're unworthy of love or a second chance. But God's grace interrupts that narrative. It says, you are forgiven, you are loved, you don't have to live in the shadows of your mistakes. Grace doesn't excuse wrongdoing, but it does remind us that our past does not define our future. Through grace, we are given the opportunity to grow, to heal, and to step into a new chapter. It allows us to embrace who we are without fear of judgment and empowers us to move forward with hope. Grace reminds us that perfection isn't the goal. Connection, redemption, and transformation are. It's a constant reminder that no matter how far we feel we've fallen, there is always a hand reaching out to lift us back up. Grace is not just about wiping the slate clean. It's about giving us the strength to rise and move forward. It's more than just forgiveness. It's the power to grow, to change, and to live with purpose. God's grace is like a fuel that empowers us to take steps we never thought we could. It's what enables us to stand back up after we've fallen, to keep going when life feels overwhelming, and to believe in a future that's brighter than our past. When we feel like we've reached the end of our strength, grace reminds us that we don't have to rely on our own. It fills the gaps where we are weak, giving us courage when we feel afraid and resilience when we feel defeated. It's not there to just help us survive, it's there to help us thrive. God's grace calls out the best in us. It encourages us to step into the fullness of who we were created to be, even when we doubt ourselves. It gives us the freedom to take risks, to learn and to grow without the fear of failure holding us back. Grace empowers us to walk in love, to extend kindness, and to live with a sense of purpose that goes beyond ourselves. It's a reminder that we are not limited by our past, but are continually being shaped by God's unwavering love and favor. God's love and grace are unwavering, no matter the circumstances. While human relationships can be fragile and conditional, God's faithfulness is constant. Even in our weakest moments when we feel undeserving or far from Him, His love doesn't falter. It is steady, unchanging, and always present, whether we recognize it or not. There are times in life when doubt creeps in, when challenges seem insurmountable, or when we feel like we've failed too many times. Yet even in those moments, God remains faithful. His grace is not contingent on our ability to stay strong or get everything right. Instead, it meets us where we are, patiently waiting for us to trust in it again. This faithfulness is what allows us to keep going when everything feels uncertain. It is the assurance that we are never abandoned, even when life gets messy or chaotic. It's the quiet reminder that we are not walking this journey alone. God's faithfulness anchors us in hope, offering us stability in a world that is constantly shifting. His love doesn't depend on how much we pray, how well we perform, or how much we think we've earned it. It simply is, and it reminds us that we can always rely on Him no matter how far we stray or how lost we feel. God's faithfulness is a promise, one that never wavers and never fades, grounding us in the truth that we are deeply loved, no matter what. God's love is not just a feeling, it is an active force, demonstrated through the beauty, purpose, and second chances woven into our lives. It shows up in the quiet moments of hope when we need it most, in the unexpected blessings we sometimes overlook, and in the resilience we find within ourselves to face each day. God's love is evident in the way life constantly gives us opportunities to start fresh. No matter how far we feel we've drifted or how deeply we think we've failed, there is always a path back, a hand extended and a door left open. That's not coincidence, it's love in action. Every sunrise reminds us of new beginnings. Every kind word from a stranger reflects the goodness he plants in the world, and every lesson learned through struggle reminds us that even pain can have a purpose. These are not random events. They are signs of a love that is present and working behind the scenes. God's love doesn't just sit still, it moves. It moves through forgiveness, through grace, and through the lives of people who inspire, uplift, and encourage. It's a love that calls us to reflect it in the way we live, by being kind, forgiving others, and showing the same compassion we've been given. God's love is alive, constant, and actively working to remind us of our worth and the infinite possibilities for redemption and growth. Grace is a gift, a profound and unearned expression of God's love. It isn't something we can work toward or achieve through effort. It's freely given, not as a reward for good behavior, but as a reflection of who God is. This is what makes grace so powerful and humbling. It reminds us that no matter how hard we try, we can't measure up to perfection, and that's okay. Grace steps in where human effort ends, offering forgiveness and freedom that we could never provide for ourselves. It strips away the need for pretense, reminding us that we don't have to be flawless to be worthy of love. This gift of grace transforms the way we see ourselves and the world. It teaches us humility, showing us that our value doesn't come from accomplishments or success. Instead, it comes from the unconditional love that grace represents. It invites us to let go of the need to earn approval and simply receive what is already offered, a second chance, a clean slate, and the assurance that we are loved, even in our messiness. God's grace also inspires gratitude. It reminds us to live with an open heart, to extend kindness to others, and to share the grace we've been given. It's a gift that changes everything, not by forcing us to change, but by showing us that we are already loved as we are, while still being called to become our best selves. God's love and grace bring hope and redemption, even in the darkest and most broken moments of life. When all seems lost, when failure, regret, or pain weigh us down, His grace steps in as a reminder that nothing is beyond repair. God doesn't see us as defined by our mistakes. He sees the potential for renewal and growth in every single one of us. This hope isn't fleeting or shallow, it's deep and lasting. It's the kind of hope that whispers to us in the silence, urging us to keep going when we feel like giving up. It's the assurance that no matter how far we've fallen or how tangled life has become, there's a way back. God's love creates space for redemption, taking the broken pieces of our lives and crafting something beautiful. Redemption isn't about erasing the past, it's about transforming it. Through grace, our pain can have purpose, and our failures can become stepping stones towards something greater. God's love and grace teach us that there's no such thing as a wasted story. Every hurt, every challenge, every wrong turn can be used to shape a brighter future. This gift of hope doesn't just lift us, it compels us to share it. When we've experienced God's grace and the redemption it brings, we are inspired to offer that same hope to others. It reminds us that we are not just recipients of love and grace, but carriers of it, bringing light into a world that desperately needs it. God's love and grace are the greatest gifts we could ever receive. Unconditional, unwavering, and life-transforming. They remind us that we are never beyond forgiveness, never too far for redemption, and always worthy of love. These truths challenge us to live with gratitude, to extend kindness, and to walk in hope. No matter where we are in life, God's love calls us closer. His grace lifts us higher, and His faithfulness assures us that we are never alone. Let us embrace this love, not just as something we receive, but as something we live out, so that others may see the power of grace and the beauty of unconditional love through our lives.